Hey guys, what's up? So the Vienna game is, according to Chernev in this book, is not meant to be the most aggressive and attacking idea that you have. After e4, e5, the book says that knight to f3 is more aggressive because you are attacking this pawn and thereby you are forcing black to do something. I would counter that, with all due respect to Mr. Chernev, by saying that black's going to do something anyway. And quite honestly, bringing out this knight to defend the pawn is hardly a hardship for black. So the Vienna game continues with knight to c3, and yes, instead of attacking this pawn, we are defending this one, right? But it can still be a whole heap of fun, a hoot and a holler. So I'm going to share with you now 3 games, all of which have been played recently. The first one was submitted by Ian in the comments, and so I don't know what Ian's rating is, don't know what his opponent's rating is, but he said this is the best Vienna Gambit game I've ever played. So I'm going to share one by me, one by Ian, one by Christina, Chess Bootcamp Live coach. So let's dive in. So this is the game by Ian, this is the Vienna game. Opponent plays knight to f6, and this invites the Vienna Gambit with pawn to f4. Accepting the gambit is a mistake. So, but it happens quite frequently. Looks like a free pawn, isn't. Okay, because you get to play pawn to e5, hitting the knight with tempo, and you are already significantly better. Now the best move here by black, which makes me think that we are looking at intermediate players here, at least, is pawn to d5. And that's what we get in this game. White continues with f takes e5. Black continues with knight takes e4. This is all book. And now Ian plays the Paulson attack, which is also what I do with queen to f3. Knight takes knight is very common, and you recapture with the b pawn. You're going to be looking to build a nice pawn center, kind of this box structure here. It's all good. We have knight to d7 by black, and now d4. Okay, finishing off, really solidifying central control. And what I like about this setup as well is it gives your bishop nice ideas. Bishop looking down either of these 2 diagonals, but also this one. You know, your bishop wants to be looking that way, assuming that your opponent's going to castle that side. These are all useful, but they all have different attacking ideas, and that's what we're looking at in this short video. We have pawn to f6 from black, kind of challenging the center. Now here, white could have actually grabbed this hanging pawn, because the knight has just blocked the queen's defense of that pawn. But white instead develops bishop to d3. We have pawn takes e5, and now queen takes d5. Pawn gets greedy and captures again on d4. However, things start to go slightly south here for black. We have queen across to h5 with check. Not the most intuitive move. Now here, I would be very tempted as black to push g6. Oh, but no, that's not playable because if pawn takes g6, and if pawn takes, you lose the rook. So that just isn't on the cards. So the only legal move apart from that, I think, is going to be king e7. We have king e7, we have queen here, and the king now ventures into the board. Bishop develops with check. King has to venture further over towards the queen side. Okay, bishop again with check. This evil twins now slicing down, forcing the king further into the board. We have rook b1 with check, and now there is what he's got one. No, he can't go there because the queen. He's got there and he's got there. Obviously, if he goes here, it's going to be a straight checkmate with the queen, but here it's still a straight checkmate with the queen. Thank you very much, Ian. Great job. Thank you for sharing. Love it. Okay, you know, we can't learn too many attacking ideas in the Vienna, and that's a beauty. So this is a Blitz game I just played this morning. e4, e5, knight c3, the Vienna game, and the very quiet and timid pawn to d6. You enjoy my play here. Pawn to d6. Not sure of the theory here. I'm just going to switch lines on while we're at it. It says d4 actually, and knight g to e2 here, which is very fish-like, isn't it? Knight g to e2, blocking in your queen and your bishop, but I guess the idea is the knight's going to come back round to g3. Okay, I played the third engine recommend, but I mean, in fact, these are all much of a muchness. You got plus 0.6 for d4, plus 0.57 for this weirdo move, and then the move that I played, which is bishop c4, comes in third. Okay, but they're all pretty much equal. Okay, and now we have knight to f6 from black. My opponent's rated 1476 after the game, anyway. And now I decide to throw in f4. I decide to mix things up a bit, try and get his pawn off the centre, try and get the central control. This is basically, you know, a King's Gambit setup with a lot of other junk around. Okay, black ignores and develops his other knight. I decide to take in the centre, thereby getting the central pawn majority. He recaptures now with the knight, and I drop my bishop back to b3. Very common move for me at the moment, I'm playing it quite a lot. We have bishop e7, and now I push d3 to finish my little pawn chain in the middle there. The idea is probably I'm going to develop my knight, probably short castle. Long castles is also an option. Okay, we have castles from black. I play knight f3. Bishop comes out pinning the knight, and I castle. I'm very, very familiar with these kinds of positions. I know that my queen is free to move because the bishop defends the knight. However, black also now already has a central knight as well, and black now goes ahead and captures on f3, which forces me to recapture with my g-pawn, because if I capture with the rook or queen, I'm losing material. So we have that, and now the bishop retreats. Now, as an attacking player, what you need to do is say, yes, my king is a bit exposed, but why is my king exposed? My king is exposed because my g-pawn's gone. Therefore, we have a semi-open g-file. How can I turn that semi-open g-file into an asset rather than a liability? So first thing is I want to get my heavy artillery over to this side somehow. I want to line my stuff up against that king, and I want to use my two active bishops. Keep an eye on this guy, right? I don't know if he ever moves again, but he plays a part in the game, right? Key thing is this pinned f7 pawn. Very, very typical idea. Black lifts his queen, and now I'm thinking, well, look, what's going on here? What is going on? So I play my queen up to e2 as well. I want to get my queen onto the g-file. He pushes a pawn, maybe a bit on the slow side, and now queen g2. Okay, so my plan is, he's letting me proceed with my plan quite happily. Now his bishop retreats, and my thought here is I want to play f4, f5. But there is a wrinkle, there's a bump in the road, and the bump is that if I play this, I undefend the g4 square, okay? And if I undefend the g4 square, he has the option of playing queen g4, defended by his knight, and forcing a trade of queens, because my queen can't move. All I could do would be to play h3, and then he'll trade anyway, right? And I've wasted h3. So I play h3 now to prevent his queen being able to come into g4 and force a trade, right? Because my queen is a super attacking mean ass biatch, right? Whereas his queen is meh, right? In fact, all of his pieces are a bit meh right now. And he plays b5 for reasons best known to him. Now comes f4, and now he pushes h6. This is a concession, but it's kind of forced because f5 is coming, right? So he wants to do this. Now, the problem is this pawn now becomes a target. Okay, and you know the remaining moves here provide a decent lesson in some common attacking patterns, not least pins. Okay, so pawn to f5 now comes, bishop retreats. Okay, now then, if you are up to 1200 rated, in fact, if you're over 1200, you should probably immediately recognize an attacking pattern here. Otherwise, there's one that you need to be familiar with, which is the fact that this pawn here, as it's moved forward, is now a hook. It is a target, right? It is defended only by this guy. But this guy, because we have a major piece on the file, this guy is pinned, which means that he ain't attacking this, so he ain't defending this pawn at all, right? Which means that this pawn is now en prise, where it's now completely hanging because it's undefended. It's functionally undefended. So we capture here, and now we are threatening mate in 1. Okay, and it gets worse because of that threat. How on earth does black defend this? Well, one idea is knight to e8 to defend the pawn, which might have been the best plan actually at this point in time. The most obvious and natural looking move is pawn to g6, and now I just take the rook, bishop recaptures, and now it gets worse. Okay, so I play f takes g6. Notice this knight is completely undefended, right? I'm attacking the pawn, I'm attacking the bishop, something must be done. But what else do we notice? This pawn is pinned, okay? So we have bishop takes here. And now, actually, I have many options, right? What would you play here? I actually, because, you know, if you do like the goldfish technique, what's defended only once? Well, that's defended twice. That's defended only by the queen. That's defended only by that. King defends these. Nothing defends that, and that is defended only once, right? And then you say, well, what's pinned? Okay, well, that's pinned. And if that, so that means that is not defended by the pawn, which means that is not defended at all. So I have two perfectly good moves here. I could capture with the queen on there. I can even capture with the knight on there. Sorry, with the rook. Capture the knight with the rook. I capture the knight. Okay, that pawn's still pinned. Now the bishop is also pinned. Bishop comes here. And in fact, from here, I could have taken with the queen or the rook, because this bishop would then be pinned, whichever captures there. But I capture with the rook, and black resigns. So there you go. Who said you can't attack with the Vienna game? And now let's move on to a game by Christina, Tigers Without Stripes. Christina is Chess Bootcamp Live coach as well, and this one doesn't take an awful long time, but this is pretty close to my heart. Always makes sense to go and, you know, if you've got players who you know play similar openings to you, Christina's in particular a really, really strong attacker, so, you know, it's nice to go and have a little snoop around her recent history. This one doesn't take an awful long time, so this is actually a 3+2 Blitz game. We have e4, e5, knight c3, the Vienna game. And now the bishop comes out. Now what I have been playing here is queen to h5. Okay, like the wayward queen attack. Christina plays bishop c4, possibly inviting the knight to come out into the kind of Max Lang. And then we could get into the Mike Nemesi's Gambit. We do not have this from black. We have pawn to a6, which is kind of slow. And now the queen comes out to g4 anyway. One thing you have to be aware of always in this is I very often just highlight this pawn. I've got my eyes fixed on this bloody pawn, because if this pawn moves forward, that's a discovered attack on the queen. I have lost many queens that way. Black plays the queen out now to f6, and now we are in a very similar position to the Mike Nemesi's Gambit line. But the knight here is not out on c6 because black has played pawn to a6 instead. And this is a curious one. So Christina plays knight to d5 anyway, right, inviting the queen to come in here. Note that our bishop defends f1, which is the checkmate square, so queen comes in with check. King d1 is forced, but the queen cannot deliver checkmate because of our bishop there. If our bishop was still on there, then queen takes bishop is mate. But it's not, because it's there and now defending that screen, that square, because it's vacated that square. And now we have pawn to d6 after 25 seconds of thought, by the way, in a 3-minute blitz game. Right, we have pawn to d6, and can you see white's next move? It's lovely, and it's something that I need to burn into my consciousness, because it's the simple queen takes c8, and it's actually checkmate, because the knight is guarding the only other escape square for the king. So that really, really is one to take note of. See, if this knight had been out in the board instead of a6, that move wouldn't have been possible, because the rook would be defending the bishop. But great awareness by Christina. Lovely, lovely game. Over on move 7. Absolutely beautiful. So there you go. Just 3 short ones to give you some attacking ideas in the Vienna game. It's what I enjoy. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.